Mailboxes drip like lampposts in the twisted birth canal of the Coliseum. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? What a Christmas present we have been given! Adam Pecora here. This is Requiem for a Tuesday. Fired up. How the hell are ya? Hope you had a great Festivus, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and that's it. No more. I don't know. Was there some other holiday? You can have a good one too. I could give a fuck. Rate, review, and subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday. Man, I'm fired. I didn't even know I was this fired up when I sat down just now. You know why? Because that fucking walk hard thing was one take. I was doing voice reps in the bathroom right before I got on here. It would have been an atrocious process had I not gotten a little bit going. I know that wasn't great, but you know how hard it is? Think about it right now. You think if somebody just said, do a Bob Dylan, could you just go right into it? It's a lot harder than you'd think, depending on where your voice naturally is registered. Rate, review, and subscribe. Apple, Spotify, anywhere, everywhere. Share this show. Let's get more people listening. If you're listening, you don't know anybody else that would like this? Highly unlikely. Who are you, Aaron Rodgers? Oh, I'm so unique and different. I'm the only one who listens to this. I don't think so. Spread the word. Merch, rfat.bigcartel.com, Instagram, adam.rfat. Check out all the links in the description below. We got music. Justice may actually be dropping his record in February. We'll see. I'll have him on at a later date to talk about that more intimately. Anywho, Christmas Eve, A Complete Unknown, Timothée Chalamet. Christmas Day, Nosferatu, Robert Eggers. It's weird that I go star for one, director for the other, but that's my priorities as far as these movies were concerned. Now, I love Bob Dylan. Am I anything more than a casual fan? I can't say no to that because there's so much lore and history and writings and biographies and documentaries and bootleg tapes and studio sessions and what it never ends. You could spend a decade trying to learn about Bob Dylan. So, I'm not going to be any type of expert talking about any of this shit. But my point is, I guess, also that, I didn't go in knowing nothing. When I got into him, I was also interested in the story. The story still doesn't really make sense, even when you put it in a movie. He is a weird guy. Almost seemingly entirely by design. But that's hard to say. But, is he just that good? Very possible. I mean, how could you be that talented if you're not that good? Am I right? So, first of all, Chalamet, another home run. I mean, the kid has had it since the moment I laid eyes on him, which I don't know when that was. Probably Lady Bird. You know what, Jamie? Pull up Timmy Chalamet's filmography quick. Because, the level at which this guy's operating. By the way, 29 years old. Oh, today, I'm recording on the 26th. Happy birthday, Timothée Chalamet, the 27th. Look at that. Why aren't we friends? 27th, 95. I'm Jan 15, 95, bro. I don't even care that you're rich. I don't want anything. I just think we'd be friends. I like sports, Timmy, and movies, and Lil B. He shouted out Lil B today. This guy's the best. I fucking love Chalamet. Anyway, what was I doing on here? Right. Okay, he's in Interstellar. I haven't seen Interstellar. Whatever. I will eventually. It's actually free on YouTube right now. So that is late for me. But what can you do? I mean, Christopher Nolan. Oh, it's complicated. Like, I get it. How good could it be? McConaughey's a scientist. Again, like, what are we doing? I just can't. I don't know. Like, I'll check it out eventually, but I'm just saying, like, we know my Christopher Nolan thing. It's very complicated. Okay, so then, yeah, my first thing would be Lady Bird. Didn't see Call Me By Your Name. Whatever. They're gay. I'm sure it's a good movie, but, is it anything for me? Probably not. I do like Armie Hammer, though, too. Bring him back. I don't care. He's a cannibal? Like, that's just fucking insane. I can't believe that was taken seriously by so many people. He's definitely a real cannibal. Like, okay. That would be nuts. Okay, what do we got? I haven't seen that much that he's done, frankly. I just love this guy. I mean, looking at the actual filmography. So, yeah, saw him in Lady Bird. Loved it. The French Dispatch is not a good movie. He was probably fine in it. Dune, I mean, don't really need to say anything about that. I guess he appears in a Kid Cudi documentary. No, thank you. Don't Look Up. He was great. Yeah, didn't see Bones and All. Didn't see Wonka. Dune Part 2, incredible though. Complete Unknown, incredible performance, incredible film. ... We'll see. And then is going to be in the Josh Safdie movie next, which stars Gwyneth Paltrow and Tyler, the Creator. I mean, it's probably going to be a fucking banger. Fran Drescher's in this bitch. $70 million budget. Jesus. Good for you, Safdie. That's a glow up. That's a big budget. That's got to be one of A24's highest budgeted films. Isn't this about ping pong? Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Well, that's going to be great either way. I can't wait for that. December 25th next year. That's tough. It is the highest A24 budget. See, I knew it. By $20 million. Jesus Christ. Anyway, back to the show. Timothée Chalamet. There's moments when you're just like, oh, that's Timothée Chalamet. Like, I'm just looking directly into his eyes and that's him. And then there's other moments where it's just like, he's kind of forcing the voice or something. But we're talking about like a fraction of a second here or there. I mean, this guy's locked in, crushing it the whole time. The truth is, you don't really get a feel for the guy. Here's my summary for the movie. It's like it accurately portrays Bob Dylan, but like as someone viewing Bob Dylan. It's like this is strictly a third person set movie. You are not like, even when Bob Dylan is alone in this movie, nothing is revealed to you ever at all. Because this movie like doesn't claim to know Bob Dylan. it doesn't claim to like, it's not trying to like tell you where he came from. It's not trying to tell you like any part of his backstory in any way. It's straight up just like, this is what we know happened. And then like there'll be some scenes that like weren't truly public moments that we'll have to write in here just, you know, by default. And of course there's like composite characters assumingly, and like small, like very minor continuity things with reality where like maybe he's like in the movie he's performing a song for the first time, but in reality it had come out already, or like, you know what I mean, like he's releasing a single, but at like technically at the period when the song came out, like the album would have been out already, or vice versa. Like, you know what I mean? Just like weird little things like that like technically don't really matter at all. You won't even notice them. I had to look them up just to know that there were many. Just to, you know, talk about this a little more accurately. James Mangold, the director, also directed Walk the Line, which was good. Very good. It was very good. This is better than that, I would say. Maybe that's just because I like Bob Dylan's music more. I don't know what I expected from this movie, but it wasn't this, but I'm not upset. But it also like isn't even really kind of a movie. It's like an experimental concert film. It's like, yeah, it's like, what if somebody released a concert film with just a compilation of songs from various performances, and then they filled it with just like them bullshitting or like, you know, doing the writing process along the way. Like the movie is in between all songs. Like it's all songs. This movie, let's say this movie's 2 hours. I don't know the exact length. It felt like 90 minutes was songs. Maybe that's a little exaggerative. So what would that word be? Hyperbolic? I got there. But it's at least a full hour. I mean, there's no way that that's not the case. And it's not bad because Chalamet's really good. He sounds pretty much like Bob Dylan. I mean, as much as you could. It's such a very specific voice. It's at least like a really good version of it. Like if you paid to see a Bob Dylan impersonator and you got this performance, you would be like, dude, that's crazy. The value. Like that was unbelievably good. So he nailed it, and he plays guitar, and there's a lot of like one shot. Like the camera does not move. He is playing the songs. The lady who plays Joan Baez, I don't remember her name. I'm trying to not stare at the computer this whole episode because that was a rabbit hole that I was on for a second there. And I'm trying not to get locked in. But my apologies, miss. Phenomenal. Her performance is great and her singing is unbelievable. Not personally Joan Baez guy. Shoot me. Whatever. I don't care. I only have so much time. Okay? I was busy trying to listen to Captain Beefheart too many fucking times. Wasting my time doing that. Anyway, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Anyone tells you that shit's good, they're pretentious or trolling or an asshole. Like there's no... Don't Don't try to play with me. So Bob Dylan shows up in New York out of nowhere from Minnesota and is like, shit's popping in the East Village. I'm going to pull up. I believe the thing was he was like maybe in a band in high school in Minneapolis and it like broke up and then whatever. Honestly, I'm not even confident in saying that, so maybe not. Whatever. There's basically no information about Bob Dylan because he's never told anybody anything. So there's just no information as far as I gather it. I mean, I'm sure by now there's been enough biographies where they've interviewed like enough fucking people to tie it all together like detective style. But whatever. Pulls up out of nowhere. And basically when you read the summary of it, it's like, oh, he showed up in 1962 and then in 1963 he was signed to Columbia Records and his album came out. And it's like, what? And the movie shows it pretty much in that regard. It's just like he just pulls up. He's like, hey, I'm here. Everybody's like, oh, that's crazy. You know, once enough of the right people see him, like he plays. They're a little generous to where it's basically like everybody loves it all the time immediately. That seems unlikely. But, you know, whatever. For the speed of this, you know, we're trying to do a movie here. We're not trying to do... It's not a mini series, you know what I mean? Like, we got to get this thing going to fame. So, I get it. But, man, The Village in the 60s really just seems like the best. I mean, The Village is the best either way. I love The Village. But, it just seems fantastic. Absolute wonderful play. I mean, it was also horrible at the same time. So that's also what's tricky. Like the whole Village Soho area was just like technically really fucked up, I guess, but also the best. So that's all weird, but I don't know. Anyway, so, you know, he starts playing shows, pretty much instantly links up with Joan Baez, which that also seemed to be how that worked, though. It would just be like, oh, I strategically went here. But also all these times, like, the people are also, like, incredibly talented. You know, it's like the movie Inside Llewyn Davis is the guy who doesn't make it. That guy still came in contact with all the same people and hung around all the same crap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Llewyn Davis was in this movie, and we just didn't even know it. Like, that's the whole thing, I guess. So, like, it seems like it would have been so easy, but, like, you forget the part where it's like, oh, he's one of the greatest songwriters in the history of time. That it's like, it also wasn't that, like, you couldn't have done it, Adam. It's like, that's probably correct. You know? But I could have maybe done something. That's the thing. Like, I would have done something, guys. Give me some credit here. I would have been on, like, a shitty radio show where I'm actually, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would have had a way too good of a career. What the fuck am I talking about? I would have been broke then, too. I don't know why, I guess I'm just saying, assuming that I also, like, attempted to make music at the same age in the 60s. It seemed like, yeah, you could have just kind of, like, played a bunch of shows because nobody... But I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Tell me about the past, old people. The streetcar was a nickel. We get it. Am I right, everybody? But okay, and then, he's banging chicks. He's not. It's just the movie is nothing. It's just the story. It literally is. Bob Dylan gets mentored by Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. Well, not really Woody Guthrie. And after the label doesn't let him record his own original songs, they then on his second album let him record half original songs. And that's a big deal. And he becomes instantly like the biggest person in folk music. And, back then you would make 2, 3, 4 albums a year. So it took him like a year and a half, basically, from like getting to New York to being like the biggest star in the city at the very least, if not the country. It's hard to go about that. And then he does like another folk album and it's like huge. But like basically from what I've always kind of surmised, but I don't know if this is accurate either. This is just like me putting shit together. It does seem like he was like more interested in the blues the whole time. And like that was kind of his preferred style of music. And that he was kind of just performing and writing folk songs because of the movement, like knowing that like going to the Village and playing that style would get him noticed sooner. But I don't know. That's pure speculation. I mean, I'm basing that on not much. But then they kind of just glaze over bringing it all back home. And they basically make it seem like he goes straight from folk to electric. Rock and roll, whatever. Is he technically the first rock star? I guess like Buddy Holly and shit. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that part's kind of weird where the whole like crux of the third act is about him like wanting to play like Highway 61 shit at the Newport Festival. And they're all uppity because it like is supposed to be folk purist and everybody's going to hate it and whatever. But it's like his last album was half folk, half blues. I mean, and the first half of Bringing It All Back Home is way better. I think everybody can agree. Anyway. And So yeah, that's odd. And then, he does just kind of like change. Like one morning, all of a sudden he's got the sunglasses on and is doing a thing. But he also does kind of like say in the movies, like I'm choosing what I want to be at all times. Like this is all just like I'm doing an act, like in so many words. I think it's also just, it's implied that he's like now on a bunch of drugs probably. Like when he just like starts wearing sunglasses and acting a lot more spacey. But they don't like show him popping pills or anything. But it also does just kind of seem like that is what happened though. That like one day he just showed up and was acting different. So it is kind of, it's jarring in the movie. But anyway, it's a good movie. You're not really invested in any of the romantic stuff. Elle Fanning watches him perform songs and realizes bad things about their relationship twice. And the fact that it happens twice didn't work for me. Once was fine. Yeah, and to me, it shows that he's both like funny and kind of a prick and just like a difficult guy and just a weird, odd guy, but also just great at music and a fun hang when you're jamming. But otherwise, a difficult and complicated person, but also maybe not. Could just be a regular old guy. Is there ever a true, real moment behind the scenes? Is there? Does the curtain ever pull back? We don't know. Really is a brilliant way to craft your public persona, is just to be a complete mystery. You got to hand it to him. But again, just all the performances are great. Edward Norton is great in this as Pete Seeger. I didn't really know anything about Pete Seeger. But good for him. Rest in peace. Boyd Holbrook is great as Johnny Cash. Yeah. All the musical performances are just so good, and they're all like his best songs. And it's not like hit. I mean, like all of them are like famous at this point, obviously, but it's not straight up like Rolling Stone, Times They Are Changing. Like, it's not only those. They're there, but there's so many songs that it's like, oh, okay, this is sick. We're getting into like the thing. But like, do you learn anything about his writing process? Like, no. While he's writing them, he's almost got it and then gets it. Or he's just like immediately writing it all great, or he's already playing it. But like, you're just showing him like constantly, relentlessly writing songs. So maybe it's just to point out like the work ethic, but like there's literally no insight. It's all straight up like, this is the timeline of everything you already know, and we're just going to run it. You can just watch it. Like, this is what it would be like to have just like been one of the people to the left of him in every photo you've ever seen, just off camera. Like, you were the guy holding the camera at all these scenes. We're just running it back. And it's like, that's still awesome. And I appreciate that they didn't, overdo and like cram in extra shit to then, you could be like, well, this doesn't fit any proper timeline, blah, 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 blah. There's no shit like that where you're like, I can't believe this. Like, this is an egregious thing. Like the Freddie Mercury movie had stuff like that. I didn't see it, so I don't really know. But this is like pretty straightforward and pretty like on point, which I think was also pretty much the case for Walk the Line. Would love it if Chalamet gets the Best Actor. Run it. Go see this. I mean, if you don't like Bob Dylan, like if you dislike his music, then don't see it because it's mostly his music. If you don't know anything about Bob Dylan and want to think seeing this will like make you learn something about him, that is incorrect. Like, it is nothing. It's not trying to tell any type of story or really explain anything about him at all. So I guess, like, if you don't know anything about, like, it's trying to just, like, accurately portray his personality at the time, but not teach you anything. So I guess if you knew nothing about, like, his personality, then you'll learn something. And he's basically just, like, kind of a sarcastic dick. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. So give Chalamet the Oscar. I wonder if they can somehow get some type of musical Oscar for that. Did he maybe try to like write an original Bob Dylan song for the movie? Like, did Bob Dylan write some lyrics that Timmy sang, and we can get Timmy a performance? Get Bob and Timmy a performance. They should have done that. They should have had like Bob Dylan play guitar on a song secretly, and Chalamet sings as Bob Dylan, and then they give the Oscar to Chalamet and Bob Dylan. That would be a legendary moment for cinema history. Be good for the Oscars too. Yeah. I guess I don't know. It's like, I need to watch that Scorsese documentary about him, but that's like 4 hours. But I guess like that's technically what I'm looking for. Just something more like that. It was really good, but it's just odd to me how much singing there was. I think that's kind of crazy. Like I said, to where this movie's like borderline experimental to me, even though every other thing about it's like super traditional, like Oscar-y period PC movie about, like, literally the scene when he plugs in kind of is like, it's like comical, like Dewey Cox when he is going electric. Like it just becomes like silly at that point. And it was hard to take the movie seriously for that part. But it's really good still. I would say that, what's that movie? Like, I'm Still Here or I'm Still There. The Todd Haynes movie. Especially the Kate, like, just watch the Kate Blanchett part of the Todd Haynes movie. And that's like this whole movie, but being very Bob Dylan. That's a really good movie. And does such a better job of like trying to get you to understand who he is and how he is that way by being just such an odd, like, all over the place movie. But that's a very good movie as well. Shout out Timothy Chalamet. We'll hang out when I win this $1 billion Mega Millions and I buy a 2-4. That's my goal. I don't even know what their valuation would be at this point, though. It's got to be billions. I don't even think I'd be able to do it. But maybe I could like buy my way in somehow. What's A24 worth? Can I find that out? Can I Google that? How much is A24 worth? $3.5 billion. Jesus Christ. Good for them. I guess I won't be doing that. Holy Christ. God, they're just so good, though. They really are. I would love... Hire me, A24. I got script ideas. Anyway. Moving on. It's Nosferatu, baby. Now, here's the thing. I'm not one. This is the reason. This is a prime example why I'm not going to call myself a cinephile at any point in time. First of all, I think it's pretentious. I kind of think it's pretentious to like call yourself anything. Like, unless it is your job, you don't get to like give yourself a title. You know what I mean? And I guess that's technically like not a title, but that's how it's treated. Anyway, I don't like it, and I don't think that it applies to me because, have you seen the silent German expressionist horror film from 1922? No, I have not. And of course I've heard of it, and I think I've maybe even tried to watch it before. I think it's on YouTube. It's got to be like completely public domain at this point. It's 102 years old. I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen many silent films ever. I've probably seen 10 silent films. Couldn't tell you all of them, but if I just had to guess. I didn't really know what to expect. I feel like they did a great job of hiding this movie, frankly, like not revealing what he looks like, really. I mean, at all. I didn't see it, at least. Not even really revealing what any of the sets look like. I feel like the trailer tells you almost nothing. And so at least to prepare for this, to compare it to the original, it seems like they pretty much beat for beat replicated the original film's plot points. So from what I gather, the original Nosferatu was like a low-budget movie. Now, all movies were low-budget, but I'm just saying for when budgets were low, it was even low for the time. It was literally just like some little German production to try to rip off Dracula, straight up. Like they were like, can we make Dracula for cheap, but make it not Dracula? And so that's why the movie is set in Germany, and that's why, that's why the name is changed. That's why he looks different than Dracula is described, I'm sure. Or I don't know. Because of technically like Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's a very odd looking Dracula as well. So I don't know. Whatever. I guess I'm just comparing that to like the Universal Bela Lugosi Dracula. But that's why things are different about it. That's why names are changed, characters are changed, and the plot is slightly different because they're trying to like Germanify a story set somewhere else. From what I gather, again. So the basic plot point is Nicholas Hoult is a real estate guy, a broker, I assume, an agent, whatever, same type of thing. He is sent on an assignment from his boss to travel to Transylvania, basically. I don't think that was said explicitly, but it's implied. To Dracula's castle to sell a house to Dracula. Now, his name is Count Orlok. Olork. Why is that so hard for me to say? Hold on. Orlok. Yeah, Orlok. Okay, I don't know why I froze up right there. I think I just had a stroke. Count Orlok. So, I mean, it looks terrifying. The images from Nosferatu all look great, and, like, the shots do seem incredible. I've just never sat down and watched it. So maybe, I mean, honestly, should I have done that for this? Yes. But, what can you do? I'm sorry. Anyway, so Nicholas Hoult then goes there and is obviously being, like, slowly tortured by him. He's very intimidating, to say the least. There's a ton of tension. He just shows up at the castle, and it's dark, and there's just a big old fire going, and he straight up just, like, threatens him openly, nonstop the entire time. Forces him to stay there, like, multiple nights, is feasting on him as he sleeps. Gets him to sign a document, which for some reason he needs to sign it, even though he's the one selling the house to the guy. He shouldn't need to sign anything, but makes him sign a thing, so you know that's coming back. And he's just terrified the whole time and knows something's up but can't really do it. Now, this part goes kind of fast for me. I thought that there would be more, like, hunting of the vampire, even if it fails, you know. And I didn't know how Nosferatu ended anyway. But I just thought either way that it would be more similar to Dracula in terms of the, like, hunting. I don't know what the ratio is in the original. But so then he pretty much tries to kill him with a stake. He finds the room and the coffin that he sleeps in, but it doesn't work. And he pretty much just fucks him up and leaves him for dead. But then he is saved by some, like, covenant of nuns, and then returns home. And meanwhile, like, the movie's really kind of about his wife, who, like, was, like, depressed and horny or something, and, like, devoted herself to evil while she masturbated or something. Unclear to me what really went down in the origin of this. But she, like, woke him from the dead or something, or a slumber, I guess, because he's, like, he's never dead, but she, like, awoke him from his slumber with some kind of, like, sex spell, but, like, years prior. So it's unclear to me, the timeline of events, but for whatever reason, now's the time that he's back and coming for her. She's newly married to Nicholas Hoult. It's Lily Rose Depp. I believe it was originally supposed to be Anya Taylor-Joy, big Eggers collaborator, but she's probably busy. I do wish Nicholas Hoult could have been Robert Pattinson. He was probably filming that Mickey 17 movie at the time, but either way, or maybe not even considered. I don't know, but I feel like it would have been better with him. No offense, Nicholas Hoult. You'll always be Skins for me. I'll never forget that. Best character. Best season. Season 1 was still the best season. Don't care what anybody says. What was his name? I don't remember his name. Oh well, in the show. And so she starts having these like nightmares and visions, and they're like, oh, but she's a sleepwalker anyway, so this stuff's kind of part of it. And she used to be like depressed, so now it's like coming back. But it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then they go and stay with Aaron Taylor Johnson and his wife, and they're like a wealthy couple that's like their best friends. And they have like little kids and whatever. And she just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And the doctor's just like, fucking give her some fucking pills and tie her up and give her ether and knock that bitch out. And then they find Willem Dafoe, who's like a disgraced professor because he's into the occult. And he comes and like figures it all out. And they begin like the offensive. Oh, and the whole thing was the house that Orlok bought. Orlok was like in their town where Nicholas Hoult and Lily Rose Depp live, and like across the street from them or something. And it's so he can be close to her, obviously. Now, again, in the original, I think this was just so they had a reason to set the movie in Germany and they could film it in Germany. So he then basically packs himself into a box and gets put on a ship and sent to Germany. And then that ship is filled with, he brings on like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of rats. And they start attacking people and killing people, and basically just like his spirit just starts like making people sick. Like anything in his path is killed, and there's destruction along the way. And Bill Skarsgård's great and everything, and he looks terrifying, and the fingers and the use of the shadows and all the camera work in this is fantastic. And it's an Eggers thing where he needs to get everything to be like as period accurate as possible. He gave the guy a mustache. And I read an interview today where he's like, there's nobody from that region that wouldn't have a mustache. And it's like, hey, man, I believe you. You're great at research. You're an incredible filmmaker. I would rather it look more like a realistic, scary, modern version of the original Nosferatu, in which no mustache. It was distracting. It made him much less scary overall to me and Brittany. She was right there. First thing she said, what was up with the mustache? I said, that's the only thing that bothered me about this movie. So it had one big negative. What's up with the mustache? He looked like, it's almost cartoonish, especially when he has like a fur coat on and a big mustache. And he had like hair, so he was bald and just had a mustache, and the hair was gross and everything. But like the mustache was just like brown, thick, full, like power handlebar mustache. Just too much. Just too much. I'm sorry. That's my one critique. Anyway, the ship finally arrives. He's there, and he has these like telepathic powers, and he is a shadow and just kind of like moves and shows up, and it's crazy, honestly. And you truly never know where he's going to be, like what's real, what isn't real, when he's just going to kill something, when he's not. And like they drink blood from the heart, which is way more intense than the neck, frankly. So I like that. If that's a switch up or not, I have no idea. I don't know if Nosferatu also did that, but I want to say it was neck. And yeah, so Lily Rose Depp, when she's doing all these like spasms and crazy shit, and they have whatever. And Nicholas Holt's kind of like under the spell of him still because he drank his blood. And Willem Dafoe is a beacon of light to this movie. The movie moves kind of slow until he shows up, and then it really amps up in pace. And he is thoroughly entertaining and very funny, and like one is a true bright spot in this movie. Like Lily Rose Depp is great. Nicholas Hoult a little less so. But she is strictly just like a dark, depressed, like tortured character. And Dafoe is like is comic relief, but is also, like the driving force of the plot. He moves a lot of it forward to where he has, according to Nicholas Hoult and the doctor, they're like going to go on a crusade to kill him while he knows the truth of, the prophecy, if you will, from all of his learnings of the occult shit and reading stuff and whatever. So he knows that the story is like you summon him and then a woman willfully devotes herself to him. And that is how like the cycle and the curse is broken of him. Now, see, the thing of why I don't understand why it's like now he's going to her all of a sudden, I think it's because she got married and she did that thing years ago before where she devoted herself. So, like, because she got married, that, like, forces him to enact this. Maybe that's what that is, and that's why he forces Nicholas Hoult to, like, sign divorce papers, technically. That part of it is unclear to me because when he arrives to Transylvania, he stays at a motel and he's like, I'm going to this castle. And they're like, buddy, don't even fucking talk about that guy. So everybody in the town seems to be afraid and aware that it's like all fucked up. But maybe because it was dormant, it's still just like a legend at that time. So I guess that does make sense. Anyway, Willem Dafoe knows that the truth is she has to sacrifice herself to him or there's no way they'll defeat him. So they pretend like they're going to go storm the castle. And really, she's like, yeah, you can just take me. In the meantime, he has been showing up every night and killing someone. Like, since he gets there, he's like, on the third night, you will be mine. And she's like, no, we're going to win. And then by the third night, she just realizes it anyway. So technically, if she had just done it on the first night, she would have, like, saved a bunch of people's lives, including her best friend and their children. Which is who she... Oh, I think that's what it is. It's like the kids first and then the lady. Tough stuff. And it's very dark and raw. And, the camera work in this movie is excellent. Robert Eggers is brilliant. The use of color juxtaposed to, like, very dull black and white style stuff, which both shows, like, the grim, emotionless nature of certain things while also being an homage to the original. He is truly just, like... I mean, in the last 10 years... he's probably my favorite filmmaker from someone who has started within that time frame. I don't really know who else. Like, nobody comes to mind at the very least. I'm sure that there's somebody that I'm not thinking of. But from 2015 to now, like, he's 4 for 4 with they're all excellent movies. And at the level of craftsmanship that he has is truly unbelievable. So I really hope that this movie does well financially so he can keep getting, like, big budget opportunities, although he does amazing work with the small budget as well. It's just gorgeous. This could be up for, like, some below the line stuff at the Oscars that wouldn't surprise me. Like costume at the very least comes to mind, like makeup. Skarsgård sat in 6 hours of makeup for this, and I mean he's unrecognizable. That literally could have been anybody. The voice, I believe, is almost unaffected. Like, I think that's almost just like his voice. There's probably just like an echo or something on it. A lot of the stuff in this is like 100% practical. He's just such a talented filmmaker. Nobody was better suited to make this, like, at all, ever. I feel like Tim Burton could have done like a cool, like wilder, less horror-driven version of this in like 1996, and that would have been insane. I feel like David Lynch could have done a version of this that would be unbelievable, which still obviously could be a thing. I hope you're doing well, David. I don't think he is. Sorry. But like almost nobody is suited for this, and Robert Eggers 100% is. This was a great choice. The score was not very noticeable, I'll say. Not in a bad way, necessarily. It just wasn't as effective as like some of his previous scores. I feel like The Lighthouse had a very notable one, but I don't know if maybe I'm misremembering. But either way, this was excellent. Basically, Willem Dafoe is Van Helsing. That was the name I was trying to think of. Like, that's not his name. It's all the thing where, like, all the names are changed. But they all have the look, like, the set design, the filming, the shot, like, every piece of cinematography in this is gorgeous and excellent. They filmed in Transylvania and in the places. Like, Robert Eggers does not fuck around. And like I said, subtle things that are like different. No mustache. Would have been better with a swap of Nicholas Hoult. Oh, that's right. Interestingly, Willem Dafoe played. Oh, that's very interesting. I've never seen Shadow of the Vampire. He played Count Orlok / Nosferatu. Jesus, I can't believe it took me that long. Apologies. Because this is like a movie about making the original one. Huh. I need to see this. I'm going to add this to the list. I want to watch Shadow of the Vampire. But that's an interesting little nugget. I like that. So anyway, go see Nosferatu. Give Robert Eggers more chances at this. It's gorgeous. You know, there's a couple like jump scares. He's not really like a jump scare guy. He's more of a like inducing dread kind of guy. And the last shot is disgusting and beautiful, and he's just like, I'm such a stan of Robert Eggers, and the movie was great. It was great. Aaron Taylor Johnson was great. Like every performance is excellent. It's really just another achievement by the guy. Oh, and I forgot, like his boss ends up being like devoted to him also, and like, you know, threw him under the bus to begin with and set the whole thing in motion. So just like Renfield. Oh, which Nicholas Hoult played Renfield in Renfield. Wow, all the connection. I wonder if he cast these people just based on those kind of connections where it's like everybody's kind of playing a character similar to one that they already played before, or like adjacent. That's interesting. I also do want to see Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Coppola one, because that's the one where who is that? Gary Oldman. He's got all the crazy makeup on, which of course he does, right? We all know Gary Oldman. But like, is that supposed to be what Dracula is supposed to look like, or did they just decide to do that? Like in the novel, is that the appearance? Or, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what I want to know. Somebody tell me that. I loved it, frankly. So shout out Nosferatu. It did seem like he was basically playing Vlad the Impaler to me. Like, he seemed like, well, I guess Vlad the Impaler probably isn't Russian and is like Transylvanian. Oh, he's Romanian, which, like, that's where Transylvania is, right? See, yeah, Count Dracula. Da, 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 da. Yeah, he's based on him. I know that. Right, okay, yeah. So Transylvania is modern-day Romania, which, whatever. Modern-day Romania. I don't know what that is. So, yeah, in my head, he's like an evil, like, Russian guy. But, yes, I guess like a Romanian guy. He's just like a big Vlad the Impaler guy who has been dead alive for a long time, so his skin's all fucked up. To me, the nose wasn't long enough. Like, I just feel like the classic, like, Nosferatu look. It's the big nose. They got the fingers down. They were real big on the fingers. Great filming of, like, shadows and stuff. Incredible work with light throughout this whole movie. I'm gay for Eggers. What can you say? I would still put the lighthouse at the top, for sure. Number 2, like, is this number 2? It's hard to say. Because I did like The Northman quite a bit. There's such different movies. It's like 2A is The Northman, 2B is Nosferatu, and then like 3 is The Witch. But I still like The Witch. It's just, it's lower budget. A little less going on for that reason, kind of by design, but I still like it. It's still very good. And I can't wait to see what he does next. Batting 1,000 in my book. I need to get them all on Blu-ray. Somebody give me some Blu-rays. Want to get the Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray. Somebody hook it up. After I saw that anime, I was like, let's get back into that zone. But also, after A Complete Unknown, I'm just like, man, I should be listening to more Bob Dylan. Some of these songs are really good. It's like, yeah, I did know. I knew this, but like, what am I doing? I don't know. All right. So, yeah, if you're listening to this when it came out, one last thing. We had to mention this earlier. It dropped early. To avoid the holiday stuff, just like I did last week. Back on next Tuesday, the proper Tuesday, January 7th. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you share this episode. Hope you share this podcast in general. Let's get the word out there. Let's make 2025 the best year it can be, guys. Let's have a positive and exciting new year. It's probably going to be awful, just like all the rest of them. But hey, why can't I put it out there, guys? Let's get the positivity going. Let's get the numbers up. Let's get me on Joe Rogan 2025. It's been 5 years. I started the show in December 2019. Can you believe it? I'm still doing it, and I'm still not getting anywhere. Let's make some strides into the new year. New Year's resolution, Joe Rogan or bust. Rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Here's to another year of me screaming about movies. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week, but I'm sure I'll figure something out. So I will talk to you then, back on a regular Tuesday. But remember, before I go, that I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.